Namaste to everybody. Hope you are all doing well. Today we will read the lesson We Are Not Afraid to Die If We Can All Be Together, written by Gordon Cook and Alan East. We are not afraid to die. This lesson is a first account of an adventurous ordeal that a family experiences. This story can be divided into three parts. The first section is when the narrator started the journey, and in a very peaceful way they started the journey. Then the second section is searching for an island. Then the last section, that is the third section, can be titled as Cheerful Landing. Now the story starts in this way that in July 1976, the narrator, a 37-year-old businessman, his wife Mary, and 6-year-old son Jonathan, and 7-year-old daughter Suzanne set sail from Plymouth, England. They wished to go round the world on a long sea voyage, as Captain James Cook had taken this voyage 200 years earlier. Here in your book you will find the word here is honing seafaring skills here in the British water. It means they improved their skills to undertake the sea journey. Before taking the journey, they improved their skills. They trained themselves for the sea journey. Then they started a 23-meter, 30-ton wooden hulled boat named Wave Wacker. The first part of their planned journey, 3-year, 105,000 kilometers journey passed very pleasantly, very happily and very peacefully. They sailed down the west coast of Africa, of Cape Town. They took on 2 crewmen, Larry Weasel, an American person, and Herb Sizzler, a Swiss person, to help them across the rough southern Indian Ocean. Then on the second day, that is on page number 14, in the first paragraph you'll find, on the second day of Cape Town, they faced extremely strong winds which blew continuously for next few weeks. Waves rose up to 15 meters. And on December 25th, what happened? They were 3,500 kilometers east of Cape Town. Though the weather was very bad, they enjoyed Christmas and New Year's Day. Then in the second paragraph, you'll find the weather changed for the worse. On January 2nd, they were mighty waves. They were sailing at 8 knots. They slowed down the boat by dropping the small sail and fastened mooring rope in a loop across the hind part of the boat. Then they attached lifelines, put on waterproof clothes and life jackets, and waited for the storm. The first sign of the imminent disaster came as portentous silence. Here in your book, you'll find on page number 14 in bold letters, black bold letter, ominous silence. That is, inauspicious silence means something wrong was going to take place. Then the wind dropped and the sky immediately grew very dark. Then they came growing, roared, and a very huge wave, a tremendous explosion shook the deck that there they were. The narrator's head struck on the wheel, and he flew over the side of the boat into water. He was sinking below the waves, and he accepted that his death is coming now. Suddenly, what happened? Suddenly, his head appeared out of water, a few meters away of the wave wacker. And this wave wacker was about to turn over in water. Then a wave threw her upright. Succeeding waves threw the narrator around the deck like a rag doll. His left ribs cracked. His mouth was filled with blood and broken teeth. You can see in the last paragraph, last line of page number 14, here it is. My mouth filled with blood and broken teeth. Somehow I found the wheel line up astern for the next wave and hung on. Then what happened? Then there was water everywhere. You can see the last line of this page number 14. Water, water everywhere. I could feel that the ship had no water below. Means there were water everywhere. But he could not leave his place in order to investigate the situation, the circumstance. Suddenly his wife, Mary, opened the door in the deck and shouted that they were sinking as the decks had already broken. Then what happened? The narrator asked her to take the wheel. See, then he moved quickly to the door. They started some work. Larry and Herb started pumping water out of the ship. The wooden beam had already broken. The whole starboard side has bulged inwards. The clothes, crockery, charts, tins and toys, everything moved around noisily in the water. They crawled into children's cabin. The toys crawled into children's cabin. Sue had got a big bump on her head. He had no time to attend her daughter. He found a hammer, screw and canvas and started the repairing work. He managed to stretch the canvas and secure waterproof hatch covers across the gaping holes. Most of the water was now being deflected over the side. Then what happened? Then the hand pump started to block up with debris. And then the electric pump had a short circuit as well. Water level rose very dangerously. He found that their two spare hand pump had been pulled away by currents along with the forestay sail, the zip, the dinghies and the main anchor. He searched another electric lamp then. Then the electric pump connected it into out pipe and water was pumped out throughout night. Whole night they pumped water out. Then they got no replies from their Mayday calls. Here on page number 715, you'll find in black bold letters Mayday calls. Mayday calls means when ships send for help in distress. Means radio calls for help sent by ships during the distress or when they are in need, when they are in danger. This is the Mayday calls. Then Shu's head had swollen alarmingly, and she had two enormous black eyes and a deep cut on her arm as well. Then the second part or the second section of the story starts from here is that on the morning of January 3, the pump had reduced water level from the boat and each of them took rest for 2 hours turn by turn. They had survived for 15 hours since the wave hit the wave whacker. But she was not so strong enough to take them to Australia. He checked the charts. He calculated that there were 2 small islands of few hundred kilometers to the east. He hoped to reach a French scientific base, that is French scientific base named Airy Amsterdam. We'll find on page number 16. That is word, black bold words, pinpricked in the wave in the vast ocean, means a very small island in a very vast ocean is called pinpricks in the vast ocean. Then on January 4, after 36 hours of continuous pumping, they reached the last few centimeters of water that was in the boat. Now they had to keep pace with the water still coming in. Mary found some corned beefs, cracker biscuits. They ate their first meal in almost 2 days. Then their relief was short-lived. At 4 p.m., black clouds again began building up. Within an hour, the wind was back to 40 knots. The seas were getting higher and higher, and throughout the night, the weather became very worse. By dawn, early morning on January 5th, their situation was extremely alarming. The narrator went in to comfort the children. John asked if they were going to die. The narrator tried to assure him that they could make it. Then John said, "We aren't afraid of dying if we all camp together." For this, the narrator had no reply. The narrator couldn't respond, and he determined to fight with the ship. To protect the weak starboard side, he decided to stop the ship with undamaged port hull facing the oncoming waves. He used an improvised sea anchor of heavy nylon ropes and two 22-liter plastic barrels of paraffin. More water rushed in through the broken planks in the evening. Then, on morning of January 6, what happened? The wind became less severe. The narrator got a reading on the sextant. Sextant. Sextant means it is an instrument for measuring angles and distances. He made quick calculations, and she came in and gave him a card she had made. What card? She had drawn the caricature of Mary and the narrator. It also had a message expressing love and thanks. Then at 2 p.m. what happened? At 2 p.m., after checking the calculations, the narrator asked Larry to steer a course of 185 degrees. He could then expect to see an island at about 5 p.m. Then he went below, climbed on his bunk, and dozed off. He woke up at 6 p.m. You see in your page number 17, here it is, he woke up at 6 p.m. is with a tousled head. Tousled head means head having not hair not in a proper way, that is hair with rumpled mass of hair. And then when we wake up early in the morning, the natural style of the hair, that is tousled head. And what happened at 6 p.m.? John entered with his tousled head and asked if he could impress his daddy. She was right behind him. They called him the best daddy in the world. You are the best daddy and the best captain of this world. And they informed him that they had already found the island. When the narrator listened to the words, the narrator rushed on deck. He saw the outline of the island of Amsterdam. On page number 1/3 of this page, you'll find this. Then going to the next, here you find, you are the best daddy in the whole world and the best captain of this whole world. What happened that night? That night they anchored offshore, and the next morning all 28 inhabitants of that island cheered them and helped them ashore. And after reaching the land, the narrator thought of Larry and Herbis, that they had been cheerful under direst stress. Here the word direst stress means a very horrible tension, that is the direst stress. I have finished the lesson. Hope you have understood. Let us come to the takeaways of this lesson in some points. The first point can be, the narrator set sail to duplicate Captain Cook's voyage that was taken by Captain Cook, means 200 years earlier by Captain James Cook. Then second point, the first leg of their plan, 3-year journey, they passed very peacefully. Then third point, For the next few weeks, they encountered strong gales. Then the fourth point, to slow the boat down, they dropped the storm jib and they tied heavy ropes across the storm. Fifth point can be taken as wave walker was very near and it was capsizing. The narrator's head crushed into the wheels and he accepted his approaching death. Then third point can be searching for an island, that on January 3rd, they searched for an island and the two pumpmen started taking rest 2 hours in a rotation. And the seventh point important is we aren't afraid to die, means the narrator went into comfort that when children said, "Daddy, are we going to die?" Then the father assured him that they would make it, that we aren't afraid to die if we can be all together. Then the last point can be taken as cheerful landing. Wave walker rode out of the storm and the wind had eased by the morning of January 6th, and they anchored offshore for the night, and next morning all 28 inhabitants of that island came to cheer them. In this way, they successfully completed their sea journey. Thank you very much. Hope to see you in the next video. Thank you, everyone.